Okay, I'll give people a few minutes to come in and join us, but if you're here, well and good. I hope you're all well today. So I thought I'd come and do a live, as last weekend I was supposed to, but I was asked to do one. Time sort of got away from me on the weekend. But yeah, so doing a bit of stuff this week. And tonight I want to talk about cold therapy as well. There are some pitfalls to cold therapy, I guess, but I think timing has a lot to do with that as well. A lot of people are concerned about, after training, for example, exercise, if you want to put on muscle, and cold therapy can inhibit that. So the growth aspect that you get from from the inflammation response. But the fact is, when it comes to cold therapy, it's best done before you exercise. So first thing in the morning, and then resistance training later on. You'll find that, one great response is a huge increase in testosterone. And apart from that, cold therapy, because it does boost testosterone actually stimulates your kidneys to produce EPO, erythropoietin, which is a hormone that stimulates your bone marrow to produce more blood cells. Okay, so that includes stem cells, white cells, and red blood cells, which means carrying more oxygen to your cells as long as you have the adequate CO2 levels. And again, CO2 is an absolute miracle molecule that people don't understand either, unfortunately. But when it comes to cold therapy, it's stimulating testosterone and through lipid production is a wonderful thing. You can I've seen a lot of people have actually replaced hormone replacement therapy with cold therapy. And it's something I've taken on board, for a long time now. Actually, first thing in the morning, cold showers are fantastic. Very cheap, very easy. Doesn't really cost you much. But if you have the money to have a cold bath, like an ice bath, then all the better. But there's just something that you need to build up to. However, there has been a recent study, which I will be talking about actually in a video I've already started working on today. But I'm going to put it in a video for you, the top reasons for cold therapy. And this is one of the top reasons, is that cold is the main stimulant to move brown fat. Okay, so like brown fat actually uptakes glucose much faster than white fat, for example. Okay, white fat stores it, and basically brown fat or beige fat will move it. Okay, so to lose fat, to lose weight, okay, stimulating brown fat through cold therapy is a really good modality. But apart from that, it's also been very effective in tumor growth, inhibiting tumor growth in cancer patients. There's the study that came out recently, and it doesn't even have to be that cold. Like even just being in a cold room just before shivering sort of state cold. Okay, so it doesn't even have to be like 6 to 8 degrees, or I think that the room they actually the room temperature they actually tested this in was like 14 degrees actually, so it really wasn't that cold. But 24 hours in this cold room mobilized brown fat. Okay, they call it BAT. It's like brown adipose tissue, and that actually inhibited the uptake of glucose by cancer cells. So which means it inhibits the growth, because it's glucose is the main source of fuel for cancer cells, in the absence of oxygen, they ferment glucose, and they can also use or ferment glutamine. But as long as you have high D3 levels, D3 actually inhibits the ability of cancer cells to utilize glutamine, and glutamine is another essential amino acid that we need for other processes in the body. So that's great news, isn't it? So another great reason for cold therapy. Cold therapy also stimulates the production of D3 because it is a pre-hormone for your cholesterol, moves cholesterol. And a lot of this happens because it stimulates your lymphatic system as well. Because when you get into that cold, you start contracting muscles and things like that, and it's muscle contraction that actually moves lymph fluid, because your lymph fluid uses the muscular skeletal system to actually push that fluid around the body, because it doesn't have its own pump. Or the muscular skeletal system is the pump for the lymphatic system. Which is why it's the largest endocrine organ. Okay, which is the muscular skeletal system. So if you go on weight, that's actually the largest organ in your body, because the muscles, all the muscles in your body, are actually the endocrine organ, and endocrine organ. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, I'm going to be doing a top reasons video for cold therapy. I actually started doing that this morning. And I'll also be talking to you very soon about certain exercise to help you get fit. That actually I did a video this morning for my patrons as well. Through just an example, 3 exercises you can do for your core without doing crunches, which I think is very important, because crunches are not always that. I mean, yes, you can get some benefit from you strengthening your core with crunches and so on, but not a lot of people can get on the ground. Not everyone can go on the ground and start squeezing their back and things like that. They get back pain and all sorts of joint pain and so on and so on. So there are other exercises that you can do, and I think a lot of people don't, or sort of underestimate things like bracing and like Superman exercises and things like that as well. So yeah, well, I thought I'd try. I started this at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I thought I'd try this time and see if it might benefit international viewers more, but doesn't look like there's many people joining me tonight, so I might end this soon. And yeah, so unless there are people who want to join me for a question answers, and otherwise I will head off soon. So I will also be uploading a cold therapy video this week. I also read an article actually on, if you have, go check out the Substack. I was talking about the Bohr effect and oxidative stress. And I think that's really important for everyone, whether you have cancer or not. But oxidative stress is basically the basis for most diseases, if not all. Okay. But that, again, that comes down to a number of factors. There are a number, like diet does affect the Bohr effect. Okay, so the Bohr effect pretty much just states that if your CO2 levels are too low, it means that the red blood cells will hang on to the oxygen molecule, and it won't actually deliver it to the cell that actually needs the oxygen. And then you get oxidative stress, and then you get obviously from the cell damage, and then you have cancer cells will develop, and they will actually thrive without oxygen. They use fermentable fuels like glucose and glutamine. But I've already told, D3 will inhibit glutamine. So, glucose being the main fuel. And of course, if you eat exogenous carbohydrates, then that obviously is going to feed the cancer cells. Yes, there are different amounts that we produce CO2 from the way we breathe, the efficiency of our breath. Okay, so but there's also dietary production of CO2 as well, because it's the substrate mixed with the oxygen that actually produces the three main gases that we need and fluids that we need from our mitochondria, the respiratory system in our mitochondria. So one being ATP, okay, for energy, so on, and for our cells and hormones. Easy water, okay, and CO2. CO2 being an absolute miracle molecule, which I've spoken about before. But it has many processes in the body, and one of the most important ones is delivering oxygen, or is the signaling molecule for the red blood cell to pick up the oxygen molecule and then deliver it to the cells. All right. And if you don't have enough CO2, then obviously it's going to hang on to that oxygen and it's not going to deliver it to the cell. So foods that produce the most out of those, so for example, fats, animal fats actually will produce, say, on average 1 gram will produce 106 ATP. To carbohydrates is only 34. And it's the same with CO2 and easy water, you get 3 times more. So that is a process. But if you have a heavy carb diet, then obviously you're going to have low CO2 production as well, which is going to create oxidative stress. But breath work, I think, is just as important than, and I think in a way breath work might actually be more important than diet. And I'm not saying that you can eat whatever you want. I think you still need to eat a very clean diet, especially if you have a chronic illness like cancer, as I had, or still have. But the simple fact is that, when it comes to nutrition and nervous system and oxidative stress, I think that breath work is more important. It should be as valued anyway. It should be just as valued as the diet. But I think cold therapy is another great modality as well. I think it's almost as important. But breath work, you can control your autonomic nervous system, and your autonomic nervous system also controls your digestion. Okay, so like you rest and digest. So when you get into the vagal state, for example, as I've spoken about before in the polyvagal theory, and I've also written articles in the Substack if you want to go have a look. If you are, for example, you just finished the gym and you are in that sort of fight or flight sort of, hyped up sort of energy going on, okay, right in the middle there, then your ability to actually digest and to absorb nutrients is actually diminished. So I always recommend when you finish the gym to do a down-regulating breathwork session, because if you can get yourself down into that ventral vagal state, then you are in that rest and digest. You will speed up your recovery and you will absorb more nutrients from your food. And then, of course, you also have the ability to produce more CO2. You also, with breath work, you can also produce more EPO, erythropoietin, which means you can produce more blood cells. Okay. So I think it's absolutely a vital modality, and it's, I think, one of the biggest, the biggest problems people have when comes to any kind of any diet that they might be on, is not only just sticking to the diet, but they have stalls, and they have points where they don't see any results coming. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that we think that diet is everything there is to it, and we don't. A lot of people don't make any lifestyle changes to go with it. And I think that, like, things like, simple things that you can do, just 10 minutes in the morning, even, and 10 minutes at night, a bit of breath work, a bit of cold therapy, just those 3 things, just an extra 20 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day can make a huge difference in your health. And like I've said this many times, like it's the small habits that you make that will make big changes, big lasting changes. So that's where I'm at the moment. And so I'm trying to convince people that timing has a lot to do with it as well. Like, for example, a good morning shake up, I think, like, some people call it priming. So, like, I'm not talking about eating, I'm talking about priming for your day. So if you get up first thing in the morning, have a cold shower, for example, or a cold plunge, ice bath if you have it, and then do a little bit of activation breath work. You can do breath of fire is a good one, very short, very active. But this will also come down to how you manage your autonomic nervous system as well. For example, if you have ADHD, like I do, you do not want to do an activation breath work every day, because you're just going to fry your nervous system. It'll keep you in that fight or flight mode, and that'll, one of the symptoms of ADHD is depression as well. It's very easy to get into that dorsal vagal state where you get depressed and you just don't want to do anything. So it's really important to understand where you are at with your nervous system as well. That's something that they don't really tell you about with breath work, is that the down-regulating breath works can be just as important as well, and it can be just as effective when it comes to low oxygen tension, producing hypoxia-inducible factors. And these are proteins that are stimulated by hypoxia, obviously, and this will stimulate your kidneys to produce more erythropoietin. Okay, so this is the thing, especially if you are post treatment, so like post chemotherapy treatment. Chemotherapy and drugs in general, a lot of pharmaceuticals also xenoestrogens, or have a lot of xenoestrogens in them, and have a xenoestrogen effect on the body, which means that it's going to lower your testosterone level. And when you have low testosterone, because testosterone also stimulates your kidneys to produce EPO, that means that you are going to have a low EPO production, which means you're going to have low blood cell production, which means you're going to have a low, so you're going to have like a low fitness ability, you're going to have a low immune system, and all sorts of problems from there. So it all sort of cascades. And this is one of the biggest problems with seed oils, okay, is that they are a huge xenoestrogen. And they're in most foods, especially processed foods. So I think that it's really important, especially post chemo, for people to do hypoxia sort of breath work, and it can be either activation or down regulating, because this is the way to. The pathways involved to bring back your immune system and it's very important, especially if you want to get off medications, which I am now, which is fantastic. It's great to be off medications. This month, in fact, tomorrow it will mark 11 years that I left the hospital, and now in remission for 11 years. Tomorrow will be the day that I actually left the hospital after the transplant, which is really cool for me. Really happy with that. So, guys, I'm sort of rambling on here. So if you guys are not interested in talking tonight, that's okay. It's all good. I will shut this down, and I will continue to put together the next video that I will upload for. I'm going to talk about cold therapy, and I will also be talking about the Bohr effect very soon too, because I've already written these in articles, so you can go check these out on Substack. If you want to read it, but I will be making hopefully shorter videos, about like 10 to 15 minute videos on the Bohr effect, CO2 in the blood, and the blood cell production, and so on and so on. I've got a long list of these videos that I need to get to, but at the moment I'm going to work on the cold therapy for this week, because there are a number of I think that are vital processes that our body needs for and that cold therapy does for us. Our state of mind, our nervous system, our hormone and blood cell production. All these things are wonderful. They're things that just taking just a 3 to 5 minute dip in a cold bath or cold shower. So and especially before gym, this will help you to produce more testosterone, and that's important for everyone, not just men. Men and women both need. Women produce testosterone before they create estrogen, and in any given moment, even women have anywhere up to 3 times the amount of testosterone in their blood than they do estrogen. And like I said, the testosterone actually stimulates the kidneys to produce EPO and then more blood cells. So it's really important for your immune system and for your fitness ability and things like that as well. So all cool. If you if you're watching, if you want to give me a question or two, just type in the chat. You're welcome to. Very happy to talk to anyone and answer any questions. If not, I think I'll call it a night, and I'll sort of keep working on these cold therapy. Actually, there's a number of good. Was it Thomas Seeger? He actually wrote a good book about cold therapy, actually, and testosterone production, things like that. So, I recommend it. I think he's done a fair few interviews on YouTube that are pretty easy to find as well. But again, I think there's a number of great reasons to do cold therapy, but a lot of them have connected reasons. Okay, so the testosterone, for example, production, which produces EPO and then blood cells and so on, and it's great for your immune system and lymphatic system. Okay, but again, the mobilization of brown fat, I think is number one best reason, because most people want to lose body fat, okay, which we actually breathe out with the CO2 molecule. So another good reason for breath work. but the mobilization, the uptake of glucose by the brown fat over and potentially taking away the food source for the cancer cells, that has real implications for, and for treatment. I think that part of any cancer treatment should be lifestyle changes, including cold therapy and breath work, including diet. I think that the three must anyway should be your diet, cold therapy, and breath work. Okay. But I think there are three must do for everyone. If you're just trying to lose fat, or get fit, get healthy, or just have just improve your longevity or your health in general, those are the three things that are an absolute must. And as a strength coach, I've always, sort of pushed, strength training and exercise, of course, as well. But I think that is important. Yes. Movement, we are built to move, but I think that's, a distant, fifth, really, maybe fourth. Yeah. But the first three should be your diet, breath work, and cold therapy. And I know it's a lot of people find it uncomfortable to be cold. They don't like the cold water and or even just a cold room. But comfort kills you. It really does. Comfort kills you. And it's not, like I said, you don't have to do a whole lot of it either. It's not like you have to sit in a tub all day long. It's only like 3 to 5 minutes. So it's not a very big time commitment, is it? All right. So that's that's just a few things I'm working on at the moment, and sort of working into my book. And of course, you can read all I've written about most of this in some of the articles on my Substack. So please go check that out. And yeah, so if you have any questions, I think that those modalities are probably the most important. There are others, I do have a video talk about eight habits that I think are eight science-backed habits that I think saved my life. And that includes, cold therapy, heat therapy, diet, of course, and breath work, strength training. But there are other things too, like sunlight, natural light, circadian biology, because like I said, with the ice baths, timing is everything. You don't want to do it after the gym, but you want to do it before the gym. That will increase your testosterone, and increase your sporting or your athletic ability, your training ability before the gym as well. And grounding is also another great one. But that's just part of being outside. It's not really a big time commitment. So I think that you can knock out all these things in like less than 30 minutes in a day. And it can really make a big difference to the rest of your life. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there, guys. And thank you for those who did join me, and I will let me know if you obviously there's a time you guys don't want to, maybe you have things going on at this time of the night, so I'll have to figure out a different time for you guys to watch, maybe a little bit earlier. And we'll catch up soon then. Okay, well, thanks everyone. I hope you all have a great night and or day, wherever you are, and we'll catch up and talk soon.